Hi, I'm Uncle Mark. Welcome to the channel. Just working on my 1997 Intrepid. In Canada here, it's a Chrysler Intrepid. In the States, it's a Dodge Intrepid. Who knows why? Anyway, interior fan is making a whole lot of noise. Well, it's squeaking like fingernails on a chalkboard. It's just driving me nuts. So I figured, well, while I take it out, I might as well record the whole thing so that somebody else can benefit from how difficult it's going to be to take it out. I think there's about 30 screws and bolts that are going to have to be removed to take it out in part of the bottom of the dash. Don't worry, I'm going to show you step by step. There's going to be chapters in this video, and they're also going to be titled so that might be able to save you a little bit of time, or if you have to watch something again, it'll be easy to find. Let's get right to it. Enjoy the video. So I'm going to use this special door panel tool. Put a link in the description of all the tools I use. There's not a whole lot of them, but this come in handy because you're going to have to go into the glove box here, which most vehicles, there would be an axis back in here. What's interesting about this is actually a vent, or I guess we could call it ductwork or ducting. So the heat goes through a little passage here, and then it goes into your door and helps defrost your windows. Got these little clips. There's two of them here. I guess there's other ways you could try and get this apart. Basically, you just pull the middle out, let's say half an inch or so, and then just pull the whole thing out. The little finger lets go. There you go. That's what they look like. And then this whole piece should just come out. Not very easily, but it should come out. Two hands would be better, but I'm holding the camera with one. We'll see what this looks like once I pull it out. I just kind of wiggled it quite a bit. Note to all of us, this has to go back in before we, this has to be one of the first things that goes back in. I know it's the first thing to come out, so you'd think it'd be the last thing to go in, but not so. There we go. There it is. See, so air goes through there. Actually goes into the floor too. That's what it looks like. Just remind me when we're putting this back together, one of the first things to put back in. I'll sit it somewhere there. So if you look under here, there's some wires. The twisted black and green are the power wires to the fan. So I was trying to figure, where is the fan? Because usually you'd see it here now. What is this? So this is going to have to come off of here. You're probably saying, no, Mark, just open the glove box. It's in behind there. So just to prove that it isn't, let's open it up. So usually, you know, there'd either be an air filter back here or something. We'd see something. So I'll pop it open. Like most of these glove boxes, you just kind of squeeze these two inward. With two hands, it would work a little easier. I'll grab this side again, and the door should kind of fall open. And what we see in the back there? Hard back. That doesn't come out. That's part of the dash. So there's 4 screws in here. We'll take them out first. They're just Phillips. Like I think I mentioned at the start, I think there's 26 Phillips screws and a couple, well, we got 4 bolts and 2 nuts, something like that. Most of them are the same. They're a little longer. You could use some type of socket, I guess, on them too. Then I'm just going to put this back in because there's no need for it to be opened. I'll just probably break it off. There should be some vehicles have fuses behind here. This one doesn't, but that can come off. That piece of trim. And we see all those holes there would be where air can go. There's a couple of screws on this side that can come out. Like I say, most of them are the same length. I believe these two, oh, see, one is shorter. So the one for the trim was shorter. The one that was the top screw for there. This just clips in on this car. just gently clips on both sides. It helps if you have like a door panel tool, like a little plastic, like a pry squeegee. You see the types of clips that hold it in. Actually 4 of them on this one, plus that screw on the end that we just took out. Try not to break that. Then there's Phillips there, and Phillips all the way to the left. These are actually holding the bottom of the dash to the top of the dash. So I've got that one out. Get this one out as well. You don't need to see, I'm just showing you. I'm taking them out. Don't want this to be a super long. Here's my little tool. It's one of these non-marring door panel tools or trim tools. I'll try and put that in the description as well. Now this, I don't know why, but this actually has a wire attached to it. A wire to nowhere. Look at that, right there. That's a connector. And maybe on some of these cars there's an actual switch there. I don't know what it's supposed to go to. I'll show you though. It's a connector that goes to a blank space. There's the connectors. See, it's nothing. Isn't that weird? I have to see what, and it looks like something else could go beside it as well. Note to ourselves again too, this can get caught behind the dash by accident. Now, I guess a guy could pull the console apart because the screws behind there. It'll help if it's not in park. So I turn the key on to move it back a little bit. And then on the left and right in the back here, you should be able to just pop it up. Now, it's held in the ashtray. There's one screw holding it there, so you have to take the screw out first. So pop the little ashtray out. See right there, there's a Phillips. This is another one of those. We said there's a few little short ones. This is a short one. There you go. On the left and the right, there should be some clips. So you can get your fingers under there or use that non-marring pry tool. There's wires hooked up to this, so a person's got to be careful. This one's got the cigarette lighter and a light bulb in there. So it's going to be like 3 wires or 4 wires. I guess it should be 4. So if we can get them out of there. This red one here that swivels is for the lighter. That's the power. Then there's a ground that clips on as well, the black wire. So there's 2 black wires. That comes off. And then there's 2 more wires that go to a bulb here. Just, there you go. And it's got this little colored thing there to make the light kind of a bluey green. With that out of the way, just have to be careful. I'll explain how this comes together later on. You'll see there how this light sits in there. That fell out when I was filming this. It took me half an hour to figure out how that clipped back on. Now this is just clipped on here to this trim around the radio and around the heater controls. Again, it might help to have this tool. Don't want to break the plastic, right? You go into a junkyard trying to get that. This one's got an aftermarket radio. So it's got 2 bolts. I believe I used 10 millimeters on them. It seemed a teeny bit sloppy. So I'm not really sure if a 9 would work on here or not. I've got this little thumb ratchet too. These are handy. Put a link in the description. So whatever kind of radio you have in here should have these 2 bolts. I have to take them out because there's, of course, more screws in here somewhere. That's what they look like. I keep throwing them into a magnetic dish. That's what the ding is. I don't know what kind of radio you have in there, but it should have an antenna and then some kind of a plug. This has been modified by the previous owner. Now your heater controls on this car have 3 screws holding it in. 2 at the top and 1 at the left bottom. So we'll take the left bottom one out first. Now these are shorter screws. Remember I mentioned there's some long ones? There's a couple of short ones. And unplug this, the blue connector, wiggle it. And then at the very left here, it's also a connector, and a little tab there. You got to squeeze, and there you go. Put that out of the way. Now there's two nuts in behind your heater controls. They're holding the lower part of the dash on. We're already halfway through. That's going pretty good. Can you maybe give me the thumbs up while you're watching? Just so you don't forget. It'll help YouTube know this was a pretty good video, and I think it's pretty good. Look at those. It's kind of got a washer and a nut all together. Remember 2 skippable chapters. Maybe you know how to get this part all out already. We'll try and go through this fairly quick. There should be some fuses behind here. Why it's so hard for me to get this out. Use my little pry tool again. There's descriptions there of what the fuses are as well. You see the clips, and there's one screw there. We don't have to take that trim out above it. In this case, we don't have to. Now there's a screw here. I don't know if I showed you that on the other side, because this trim, this piece here, which can stay, actually goes up and around the window a little bit, but it's this bottom piece you want out, because there's a couple bolts hiding behind there. So this one Phillips screw can come out there. It's a silver color. And then there's 2 black screws there. Pull those 2 out. And then this plastic piece should pop out. Takes a little bit of wiggling. It's actually got a finger sticking at the bottom where my fingers are there. That goes into a hole. And you just pull it out of the way and try not to break it. That's what it looks like. Now what do we need? 2 more bolts. One at the bottom there, and one at the top. That holds this bottom piece on. I'm still using 10 millimeter. Like I say, it's a little bit sloppy, but it did the job. And the dash should come out, the bottom of it. This would be nice to have 2 people to do it. Now before I get all crazy here, there's a couple more wires. Oh, okay. We haven't done this side. Yeah, there you go. I thought, Mark, you're way ahead of yourself. Same thing we did on the other side. Pop this up just a little bit. 2 screws holding this side kick panel, I guess you want to call it. Take those out because there's 2 bolts a little higher up behind this trim. And there should be a screw way at the top here. And it should just come out gently. And then the 2 bolts. So I'll get you a little closer, so we'll zip through this pretty quick. Take that bolt out. Of course I'm speeding this up, right? Take that bolt out. And I think the dash is not being held on by anything except there are a couple power wires there. Right, there's one there. And there's one on this other side. You can see the blue connector. I'll put an arrow there right away. You can sit it back up, kind of on the console. There's the other wire. So one, I believe, is a light bulb for stuff in your glove box, and the other one on this car, I've got power trunk. This is on clips. Don't want to break those wires. So it's a good thing I wasn't being too rammy. So that comes out. On the other side here is my power trunk, and I think the clip's on the back. Let's see if I can get around the back there and show you what it looks like. Yeah, I'll show you the back side of it. There, it's a little better. You can get your finger under there and just pull it just a little bit. If you had 2 hands, it would be a little easier. There you go. Now, as far as I know, nothing's holding the dash in. Just have to make sure that all the wires for the radio and all that kind of stuff aren't caught in anything. 2 people would be nice to pull this out. It's not super heavy, but it's just really bulky to get around the shifter and get around the steering wheel and without hitting anything or scraping anything. Put that somewhere safe. And if we go back on the passenger side by the floor, the twisted green and black again is the power. And actually what they hook up into is actually, I don't know what you call it, it's a fan resistor. It's what helps you with your speed. So if your fan is stuck on high and you can't get a lower speed, 2 bolts, this thing will come out, you can replace it, and then you should have all your speeds again for your fan. We need to take the left power out. So this is what it looks like with the dash off and out of the way. Fan's in there. I wasn't really sure, so I stuck my finger up there and I can feel the little squirrel cage. So here's a bolt here. So I was wondering, could you get this out without the lower part of the dash? And the answer is probably yes. When you see the fight I have with this, I think it's better to take the dash off. And if I ever have to come in here again, the bottom of the dash is coming out. It didn't take that long to do. Now there's a bolt way in the back here. I'll try and show you where my fingers are. Right about there. Right in there. Now because the floor is on an angle, you can't get at it. Now on this side, right in here, there's another bolt. I got that guy out. Took some patience. There he is. And this should pop down. Remember I said there was a third, there's your fan. See it there? Hello, Mr. Fan. That's held in with 3 bolts. Pull this connector to the side a little bit, just so it's not attached to that bottom housing. Use my special tool there again. I use this thing all the time. It's amazing. Now pry it down a little bit. See the motor there. But ideally, it would be nice to unbolt this. I wonder if you could... So I was talking to myself, as I usually do. So, boy, I really need this bolt out of here. But like I say, the floor's on an angle. The bolt's way at the top. You can't get a socket in there, even a little baby 1/4-inch socket. So unplug the wire here first. Remember we were talking about this power wire. It's 2 wires. It's on the left connector there. A little fiddly. Again, if you have that lower piece of the dash there, wow, you'd really be fighting. This is cramped as it is. Now I need to push or pull, depends on which side of this container I'm in. Get the wires to go back in there and come out. Nice. Still hanging on by that bolt in the back. So I thought, I'm stubborn. I can't get it out of there. I'm just going to pry. 3 more bolts here. These are all the same size. Actually, what I'm using here is a tool for, it's a 5/16, I believe. It's for side post batteries. Then I, got the real guns out, got a real socket on there and a real little ratchet. This screw came out, or bolt. You see one kind of is just stuck in the rubber, but so this thing is loose. I am prying pretty hard. I don't want to break the squirrel cage, the fan part of it. I got it out. So if you get a motor without that plastic squirrel cage, this is how you remove it. Get that piece off, and then pry with your fingers. Pry down onto the motor and pry up under it. I would suggest don't chintz out. Get it with a squirrel cage because it's howled. The plastic is brittle. Probably going to break it taking it off. If you don't, you'll probably break it putting the fan back into the housing there. So here we go, trying to put it back in now. Now this piece on the bottom here again, it's just fight. And it was such a fight that I was able to kind of get the motor up in there, and then it wouldn't spin properly. So I thought if I could break this off of here without breaking the upper housing, maybe we could work with this. So I'm twisting the screwdriver, and it actually did crack something. I'll show you what it did. It worked out perfect. I'm sure that's what the mechanics can do if you brought it to a shop. There you go. See how it split? So the bolt is still in there. So I'm hoping, what I'm doing is just feeling to see how much room is there. I'm going to loosen it a little bit. Of course, it's easier to turn now that I don't have a big housing in there, because I want to be able to just slip it on over the bolt there without having to tighten it. So I got a hacksaw out. I think I'm going to make this that it'll be able to slide on easily. You'll see I'm just cutting a little groove out of it. So then I'm hoping that, you know, with the bolt there, I can just slide that in like that and it'll just pop into the hole. And the head of the bolt will hold that on. That's the plan. Now this, I found these mounts or whatever are kind of not super strong and bent one somehow. See that one straight? This one is kind of bent a little bit. It's bent up. Straighten it out a little bit with something. Look how little room there is to get this back in. I mean, new room.
Still.
It's that cab forward design, I guess this thing has. I had this in a couple times. I'm not going to show you every time, but somehow it wouldn't spin. I don't know if I moved the squirrel cage up or down a little bit, or it didn't sit in there. So I'm using my fingers on top to make sure does it spin freely this time. Yes, it does. I'll put these bolts back in, tighten all three of them up, make sure it spins. This might be actually, you could probably do it right now if you want. Plug the motor back in, turn your key on, turn the fan on, make sure it runs. Because you'd hate to go through all this trouble putting it all together and find out, no, you have to take it apart again.
So it's 3 8 or they're 5/16.
And I kind of damaged this, I think, or maybe it was damaged right before I straightened it out though. And then I had some camera trouble. Somehow I clicked slow motion or something. So I tried speeding it up so that you could see it, but that's what the flicker is. Wire goes through there. We went into slow motion again. Using my phone to do this, and I need to get it something better than that. Maybe next year. The phone records pretty good. It's just too easy to bump something on the screen without noticing. Pop that back in there. Line all this up. Plus that screw on the back or bolt on the back. And then start tightening her up. So I'm going to plug it in, make sure it works.
It's these guys.
I guess I'm not going to try it yet. So that's what it looks like.
There's only two, because the third one is still up in there, right, where you just broke it off.
Mm-hmm.
So these kind of gray things with weird
tread pattern.
spiral on them.
Yep.
And no, the rest of these actually you can do with a Phillips. So these are the two for this bottom piece.
To make sure that that wire piece or the little clip is on the bolt as well. Tighten her in there. Tighten the right side. made up properly. Click this wire connector back on. And there we go. Turn it on. See it's working. Why is it squeaky? Because I put the old one back in because I didn't have a new one. I had this brainiac idea that I try and lube this up and make a video. I wouldn't suggest you lube it. It didn't work. Can't really take it apart. What I'll try and do is put a link right now to another video. I'm going to try and take one apart just to show you how hard they are to take apart and if they're lubable or what you're going to break. Basically, they're not made. Oh, let's not forget this. You got to put this vent back on. Remember I said we took it off first, but it doesn't go back on last. The reason for that is once you put the dash in there, there's no way to get the right kind of angles. This way, you can get it in and then put those clips on. It's only held in with those two clips. There they are. So basically they pop in, hold it up, and then push the centerpiece, and that spreads the rest of the clip that's inside already now. That's the problem is that. So that's what it should look like before you put it in. Show you from the top what it looks like. Sorry about the poor camera work there. It goes in the right spot there, give it a push, and it should hold it up. Ta-da! Now, we can try and put the dash back in. To move my console stuff all out of the way again. Get the gear shift back into like first or something so that there's enough room to put this dash in. Second person would be nice, like to hold some of this. I was able to do it by myself. I'm kind of a big guy. I wouldn't say it was heavy, it was just clumsy. Set the wires in there. It's good to try and route them now because there's two levels and there's a whole bunch of wires there, and if you don't have them on the right level, if you put the dash all the way in, well, let's not forget to plug in the trunk, which is this one, and the other one that I just plugged in was your glove box light, because they're pretty hard to plug in once you have the dash all back together. Don't ask me how. I would know. So you're going to do some jiggling and wiggling and try and get this thing to line up again. This is where a second person would be nice. So what I tried to do is I tried to get these two to line up first. Remember there's two nuts sitting down there. Oh, so we've got two bolts on the ends here, right? And then there's two on the driver's side as well. So I'm going to put these nuts on first. I'm just going to barely snug them up, just so it kind of holds the middle of the dash in. Then you can go to one side or the other and start working on those. So a little bit of wiggling, a little bit of jiggling. Put these back in. Nice big bolt. Those are those silver ones. I didn't make them super tight yet, just kind of snug, just in case I need to jiggle or move part of the dash around. Same with this side. Try and set this up a little higher. Again, an extra set of hands would be nice. Get these in. And then I've got a whole bunch of these screws. These nice long ones. Remember? There's maybe a short one there, but that only goes on the end, I believe. So these are all long. There's two of them here. Let's put them in. Oh, and there's here too. So I got the first one out on the right. I'm just doing the second one on the left. Sorry I didn't show you that. And this just clicks in into place. And remember there's a screw on the end. That's a shorter one. Goes in there. Then just below that is the long one like all those other ones are. It's coming along pretty good. I'm going to snug these up now because basically it can't go anywhere else. Now this,
Those two.
you could put the right, I had the wrong side one. You've seen the bloopers where I had it held up with the camera and, we're going to put the screws in here and it's like, why won't it fit? So you look at that silver screw there. It's the same one as that goes in the floor here. Want to make sure everything lines up. Snug her down. Should be a screw that goes in there. I'm missing the trim that goes just above it. That'll be your what do you call that? Side windshield molding. 2 black screws in the bottom here that go in. You might have to jiggle stuff around to get them to grab and snag. And then let's go to this piece. Remember, there's the Phantom, and look at that. Got that caught behind there, just like I said it would. So I loosened it off the screw a little bit. I was able to, not that it really matters because it doesn't hook up to anything. Sometimes these cars do that. You don't get the option, but they've got the wiring there. If I got to find out what that hooks up to. Get that option. And then it just clicks into the fake spot. And I see there's another fake spot right beside it that you could cut out a switch. So it's got clips and it's got fingers. I'll show you this one on the end here. See how it just goes into some holes. One finger goes into a hole and one clip goes into a hole. Now on the driver's side, we put this kick panel back in as well. You know how this works. We just did the other side. It goes under there. Find one of those silver screws. Screw that's going to go in there behind this other panel. This windshield pillar molding. That's just supposed to sit in behind there, and that goes there, and then a screw will go in there. There's that panel. So, put the screw in, tighten her up. Should be some side screws here as well. Those black long screws. Just make sure they're actually going into some metal in there. Maybe some insulation or something else that they might catch on. You'll feel it when you're trying to put them in. Those two are done. And then let's not forget that silver screw that goes in there. Looks just like that one. Like I say, there's 30, 35 screws and nuts total. It'll help to have the video. This guy that goes in here, it's one of the longer ones. Then these clips hide our few fuses that are here. This is one of the fuse boxes. Just set it on properly and give her a clip, or a hit, a smack, and it should clip in. Okay, now you remember we still have those 2 nuts down here that were just loose. Might as well tighten them now because this dash isn't going anywhere. So, tune all these things, everything, just make it snug. Be good. Fairly snug. Now we've got heater wires. That's that blue one. As we were talking about the levels, the wires kind of fell again. You got wires on the top level for your radio. There should be one connector there, and on this lower level, you've got this light bulb. That's for your cigarette lighter. This blue one is, and the one beside it are for your heater controls. But you need a light and the 2 wires for your lighter. And they need to be routed through this hole back here. Just go in there. See the hole? It's like a 2-inch hole. Try and feed them in there. Might have to monkey with some of the wires there that might get tangled. There's lots of wires in here. Yeah, that's what we need. That's about right. These are the 2 for your heater controls. We'll do those first. So the blue goes to blue. They only connect into one spot each, so you can't connect it into the wrong thing. which is nice. Take a little bit of wiggling, not a click. Same with this blue one. Then, if you remember, there should be 3 screws, 2 in the top and 1 in the bottom left. And you'll see there's shorter ones and longer ones. These are a little shorter. These aren't like all these long ones you've been using. So this has to go in first before the radio, I believe. At least on this one with the aftermarket radio. Then we can try and do the radio. This is an aftermarket. If you ever have the aftermarket, there's a fuse if you ever blow a fuse out on them. Don't want to forget the antenna, so I can get my favorite radio station. Those go in with these 2 bolts. Snug them up. Just make sure everything's going in nice. You don't want to have to force it. Use one of these thumb drives again, because it's ratcheting. Put a link in the description for those 2. I use them actually for a bit. They're nice to use. Just to make sure the radio works. Turn it on. You'd hate to put it all together and find out it doesn't work. Now let's do the lighter. That's in your console. Still on the bottom. What do we say we need? 3 wires. So there's one that goes in the center there. It's red with the black piece. That's a light bulb. It lights up your little cigarette ashtray. Spin this around the way it needs to go. I'm going to have to turn the key on and move the shifter back. But I got to plug this in before everything goes back where it needs to go. It's a big red wire with the black piece on the end. That plugs in the middle. Again, these things can only plug in in one way. Now the other wire here with a flat connector is the ground. Should be able to just flip it in there.
There we go.
Actually goes easier with 2 hands. I just need a little light, and it clips on here. If it's fallen off, it fell off for me. I didn't know where it fell off of. I literally spent half an hour trying to, where would this clip on? And you're trying to open and close the ashtray door. And it's like, well, that won't light. That won't light. Anyway, that's where it goes. Plug the bulb in. There's this little cover on top of it just to make it glow kind of blue. Plug that in there. It's pretty easy. Then your console, the top should click in on the back closest to your armrest. Just trying to get everything to sit right. Now, in this ashtray here, pull out the actual ashtray itself. Remember, there's that one little, it's another short Phillips. Should go in there. I don't smoke, but I'll put that back in anyway. In case you want to leave some change in there, although previous owner did, and change went into the console. Now there's this faceplate trim around the radio and your heater controls. They've got clips that go in there too. Only goes in one way. The top ones are a little bit, seem almost breakable, so I tried to get them to go in first. Because I found if you do it from the bottom, those 2 top ones don't want to sit properly, and you have to take it all apart again. Now it's like, oh, 4 more screws. Where do they go? Well, they go in the glove box. I'm going to open this glove box door again. And you see there's 2 in the bottom there, and there's 2 on the top. Easy enough. Screw them in. That's 3, and that's 4. Done. Guess all I need to do is put this glove box back together. So just push these in towards each other. And give her close. And that's how easy it is to do. So that's going to do it for the video. I wasn't kidding. Not an easy thing to do. But can you imagine what a dealer would charge you to do that? It's totally doable, especially if you have a friend you know, to hold some of the things there. It just took a couple tools and a little bit of time. Anyway, if you like the video, please give me the thumbs up. You can also subscribe down in the corner if you already aren't a subscriber. Is aren't a word. Plus, right here, just above the blue little logo there, above that, I'll put a playlist for this Intrepid. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Until next time, I'm Uncle Mark saying you and your family stay safe. Responsibility and should be priority number one. Also, give me the thumbs up if you like the video. Plus, please subscribe and you'll get all the notifications. It's easy. The little dog will show you how. Ring the bell. Ring the bell. Issues. Maybe I'll try the right one this time. Those two there. No? No. Oh, goodness, I got wires here. You'll also see that they're titled, so if you're looking for a certain thing like